Yeah, like texting.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to see so many of you show up here at the meeting. It's in a full house here. It's very nice. Thank you so much. We have some folks for the open forum. That's what we start with. I will call your name. You'll come up, state your name, address. You'll sign in before you leave, and you have approximately 3 minutes. So the first one who's going to come up and speak this evening is Melissa Melnick.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Melnick. I'm pastor at Tapestry, 7525 Oliver Avenue South here in Richfield. I come tonight once again in support of the residents of Crossroads or Concierge. As I think you are aware, many of the residents are now facing the time that they are forced to either find another place to live or in some cases be out on the streets. And so I come tonight just asking you to continue to do whatever is in your power with influence, with words, to support the people of Crossroads and all of those who are being displaced, including the school children who we know are not going to be in our schools anymore, causing a loss of about 32 full-time paid, I think it's licensed staff at our schools. I wanted to just mention a couple of comments. I was at a housing forum where Julian Castro was there with a number of mayors a couple of weeks ago, and one of the mayors made these comments, and I think they're pertinent, and I hope that we can live these ideals in our community as well. One of the things I think we forget sometimes is that the people that are being displaced are our neighbors, and we have to stop talking about this as if it's somebody else and as if we can't do anything, because as community together we can do an awful lot. We need to stop being afraid of the other. Remember that these are our people, those who are different from us, those who don't have a lot of money, those who end up on the streets. They are our people, and the better that their lives are, the more stable their housing, the more stable more stable their lives, the better our community is as a whole. So I encourage you to continue to look for solutions, both for the people of Crossroads, so that they don't end up living on the street, that they don't end up in inadequate and not affordable housing. I ask you to ensure that this does not happen again for those who are displaced, who do find other housing here in Richfield, that this doesn't happen to them again, because we know that this is a trend. And so I ask you to open your hearts and minds to look for solutions with the community together, and to keep those who are the most vulnerable in our society in the front of policy decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Am I supposed to say?
Linda Soderstrom.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I also live at Crossroads. My name is Linda Soderstrom. My address is 7720 Penn Avenue South, apartment C, 322 in Richfield. I came before this council in November and December. You seemed very caring and concerned that perhaps you could help the residents at Crossroads. We numbered 2,300 at that time and 698 units. Now I'm back, and I'm here to ask that as the city of Richfield, you create financial incentives that will ensure affordable housing for developers, landlords, builders, and other people who rent. I'm also asking that as a city, you write a just cause ordinance, which means that renters would be protected from being evicted at will, but would need a just cause for eviction. There's no such ordinance. I'm asking that as a city, you stop discriminating based on subsidy or income. When that is the situation, a person should still have a right to live in a decent, safe, affordable home. I'm asking as a city that you encourage your faith-based and trust and not-profit organizations to build affordable housing. And I'm asking as a city that you create your own rental subsidy program. What a model that would be in the nation. I'm asking that as a city, when you displace people in large numbers, you require the developers to create one-for-one replacement housing before they're allowed to come in and flip your properties. I am asking you as a council, what are you willing to commit to ensure that what happened at Crossroads Concierge does not happen again? Thank you.
Thank you. Darlene Fisher?
Good evening. My name's Darlene Fisher. I was at 7700 Penn, Apartment 1. Now I'm at 1010 Curry, Apartment 503. And I want to ask you guys, please help these people. Because these people are now being involuntarily displaced. And now they're going to wind up in all these shelters. And I got news for you all. These shelters are not safe. These shelters are not clean. These shelters are not upkept like they're supposed to be. And I'm telling you that because I was there. You know, I'm asking you guys, please help these people in the city of Richfield to get affordable housing, okay? Because some of us are on disability, okay? And some of us are trying to go back to work, but we got to get stable first, then go to work. We can't be worried about where we're going to lay our head today, okay? And then there's so many families at Crossroads at Penn. There's over 700 families that are going to be involuntarily displaced. Please, you guys, as a whole, I need you guys to please step it up. Let's find some more affordable housing. These people have a right to deserve a right to live in a clean environment, to live in a place that they feel safe. You know, I really, really am pleading. Because, you know, I know a couple of Spanish people at the Crossroads. And the poor girl, she had the C-section. This man turned off the water and the gas. And that poor woman wound up in the ER. Please, let's step up our standards for the appropriate provisions for all the people that do housing. Let's step it up. Because if it was your homes that had no gas and no water, I don't know how you guys would feel. I don't think you guys would like that. All right, so please.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Jerlene Bryant.
Good evening.
Hi, Jerlene.
Giving honor to the mayor and to the city council. My name is Jerlene Bryant, and I have rented at Crossroad at Penn for 15 years under several landlords, ending with T.E. Miller. I have been in the South during Dr. Martin Luther King's marches, during grade school and in my teens. I have seen discrimination, and I have spoken out against it all my life. I have raised several daughters who served in the United States military, in Iraq, Guantanamo, Desert Storm, and they have been military police for 20 proud years for themselves. I am 68 years of age with a history of community organizing and currently getting my degree to become a licensed ELS teacher. When Mr. Soderberg determined not to work with subsidy program or existing Richfield resident in good standing, myself included. He did discriminate against me and has impacted my livelihood in the following ways. He has threatened my schooling by refusing my continued residence. He has demeaned me as a renter in good standing these 15 years. He has caused new health challenges to emerge due to impossible pressures to leave my home when I had no plan to leave my home. There is nowhere to move to and no money to fund such a move. He is a predatory landlord with blatant disregard for the health and safety of existing leaseholders, and after discriminating against me based on race, age, financial, and other status, he is now stalling around until the sheriff can lock me out of my home. May the 31st fast approaches, and you, Mayor Gartell, heard him promise last fall to help find places to go for the poor he wanted rid of. Yet he does not keep his promise to do so. And you, Madam Mayor, have even shared with me just last month that he will work with people and won't let anybody go homeless. And yet, he does not stand by his word. He helps no one.
You need to finish up, Jerlene.
Okay. This is one thing that I would like to say. What commitment is the city and council prepared to make so this does not happen to me and my neighbor again if we move to other places in my city? Please reconsider the value system that brings us here today. Please help us save our home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you coming. We have with us some guests in the back. We have some scouts that are here, and I would like the scout leader to first come up to the mic and introduce the troop leader. Are you here, Tom? Please? Would you come up to that mic and introduce everybody? And then I'd like them to stand first and start the Pledge of Allegiance for us. If you can.
All right. So we have...
Introduce yourself.
All right. I'm Thomas. I'm the SPL. I'm really running the troop, so it's really fun. We are Troop 110 from Minneapolis. I know we have at least 2 people from right here in the city right now with us. Thanks for coming, but we're in Minneapolis. We're in a church named Mount Olivet between Washburn and Southwest, if you know where that is. And we're here for a merit badge called Communication Merit Badge. It's one of the requirements is to go to a meeting where we have to sit and listen to different points of views, and we have to do some other things. I'm not going to get into detail about it.
Okay. You want to ask your troop to stand?
All right, please rise.
Would everybody else please stand and join us, and I'll let you start.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and thank you to the Scouts for being here. At this time, I'd ask the approval of the minutes of the special city council work session of March 3rd, 2016, the regular city council meeting of March 8th of 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tonight we have a presentation, a wonderful presentation. We are welcoming back the returning Friendship Commission delegation from Heredia, Costa Rica. And I will come down here and join the podium too. And you'll start with the presentation.
Okay, I'm Cynthia Mandel. I've been involved with the Friendship City Commission since 1987, and I want to thank you for welcoming our group to tonight's City Council meeting and for the invitation to speak to you about our recent visit to Heredia, Costa Rica. I'm pleased that you've allotted 3 hours for the presentation. Just kidding. Even though it would take more than that to share with you all of the group's adventures and individual experiences of our recent 13-day journey. Our group consisted of 14 travelers, and if we look at the border of Richfield from 1927, I can tell you that 11 of them lived in Richfield, and 2 people from North Dakota and 1 from California. It was a first visit to Costa Rica for 8 members of our group, and the other 6 have already been on multiple Richfield Friendship City Commission tours. Though we all have different backgrounds and different life experiences, one thing we have in common is a sense of adventure and a curiosity about the world. All of our travelers enjoyed the trip's focus on learning about Heredia and Costa Rica by building relationships based on common interests, common concerns, and common experiences. Everyone enjoyed the tremendous hospitality of Heredianos in providing homestays for us, as well as opportunities for interactive activities with many community organizations and projects. We enjoyed time with senior citizens at Costa Rica's first daycare center, or senior daycare center, with children at the National University's Children's Library, a visit with Costa Rica's first daytime program for adults with learning disabilities, an orphanage that is leading the way for reform in orphanages nationwide, an evening with a local soccer program, an evening with Girl Guides and Boy Scouts. We visited a new green industry. We climbed to the top of El Fortín, which is the historic part of the Heredia Municipal Building. We met with Guillermo Hernandez, a noted Costa Rican sculptor, and we learned about earthquakes and volcanoes from a professor at the National University, which is located in Heredia. Outside the city, we met the family that was featured in this book about life in Costa Rica. We took a boat ride on a coastal river full of crocodiles. We took another boat ride on an inland river with monkeys, iguanas, caiman, and birds galore. We visited a scarlet macaw sanctuary and a rainforest frog project. We took a chocolate tour. We went on a tour of a pineapple plantation. We visited a rural elementary school. We went to Poás Volcano National Park. We toured a coffee plantation and a butterfly garden. We took several rainforest hikes. We visited Costa Rica's most unusual town square, attended the largest ox cart parade in Costa Rica, and met with several artists, and each of our travelers received an original painted mug created by an emerging artist, and each of them received a painted tile tray that was created by a senior women's artist cooperative. I'd like to mention that as part of the cost of going on the tour, each traveler made a financial donation to the Richfield Friendship City Commission, and that money was used to purchase requested items for the various Heredia organizations and programs that we visited. The commission members, the actual commission members, purchased many of these items with that money and also very successfully solicited donations from area businesses and interested friends. Among other things, we delivered 3 walkers, several 4-tipped canes, hand exercise equipment, slings, splints, wraps, a glucometer, and much more to the adult daycare center. We delivered bilingual books, puppets, stickers, craft punchers, crayons, and more to the children's library. We delivered T-shirts to the guides and scouts, soccer balls and vests to the soccer program, and hundreds of pairs of socks and undies and much more to the orphanage. Also craft supplies for the adult program for people with learning disabilities. We had tremendous success in collecting dental supplies for every organization we visited, including toothbrushes, toothbrush covers, toothpaste, and over 1 kilometer of dental floss. In closing, I'd like to say thank you to the Richfield Friendship City Commission for sponsoring this project. Thank you to the members of the commission for collecting many of the donations. Thank you to the tour participants for donating some of the cash and additional donations, and for being such fun traveling companions. And thank you to my husband, Ken, who conveniently scheduled a business trip to Costa Rica a few weeks before we traveled there and was able to transport nearly 100 pounds of our donations. And if I can take a moment more, I'd like to say that the senior daycare center that we visited has a Facebook page, and they posted 136 photos of our visit. They entitled it "Beautiful Morning of Music and Dances in the Company of Our American Friends." And a couple of the comments that were made by Costa Ricans on that page includes a couple I want to read for you. One of them said, "Many thanks," and this was with translation. "Many thanks to our dear friends of Richfield for your beautiful visit to our institution and for your invaluable contributions to our older adults. We shared in a beautiful morning music, lectures, songs, snacks, and above all, in an atmosphere of happiness and of coexistence between two countries that, although they don't get it by the language, we get it by the smiles, the the gestures, and the love. 1,000 thanks." And another comment was beautiful activity which we all enjoyed. There were plenty of smiles on the faces of the elderly, meaning that we enjoyed it. Each and every one of us has a memory in our heart of such a beautiful activity. So we're back now and enjoying the joys of living in Richfield.
And Cynthia, I'd like you to stay up here for just a moment. You know, she has worked tirelessly on the Friendship Commission since before I was mayor. I believe that Councilmember Garcia has gone on the trip with Cynthia Mandel and her husband and a lot of other friendship commissioners as well. And to that, I'd like to present you with a certificate of appreciation, but this is a special one, not like everybody else's. And I'm going to read it out loud, Cynthia. For all your hard work, you so deserve this. Cynthia Mendel, with sincere thanks for your tireless efforts and valuable role in leading the delegation, Richfield Friendship Commission, to the city of Heredia, Costa Rica, strengthening the relationship with Richfield's Friendship City, fostering the goodwill and friendship you have helped create between our two cities, learning to understand one another better, promoting mutual exchanges, and strengthening peace in the world. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Gotel, as mayor of the city of Richfield, do hereby reappoint Cynthia Mendel as Richfield's ambassador to Heredia, Costa Rica, declared this 22nd day of March 2016. Thank you so much. You so deserve that. Okay, we are presenting certificates of appreciation for those who went on the trip here, and I will let you bring the name, and I'll do the handshake.
Sounds good. My name is Ahmad Ansari, and I'm the chairman of the Richfield Friendship City Commission. David Delzer and Linda Delzer. Martin Kirsch. Ann Miller. Edward Morrow. Ann Romstad. Cheryl Brannon. Linda Burrell. Joanne Boris.
A round of applause for our ambassadors over there. Thank you so much for taking your own funds and your time to do this. It's so worthwhile. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I can just, you look at the vest that Cynthia has on, and you immediately think of the rainforest because it is beautiful and it's, and I appreciate now you've got cards that I think that this is it. I don't think you're going to get a pay increase, but but this card is very nice. And I also wanted to tell you that it's always nice when you have a spouse that's part of the team and really knows, because he had to work in Costa Rica for a while, and you've done an outstanding job. And I know, and Marty has really been there to support you, and as has the commission. But we're very proud of you, and we thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks. At this time, we'll move on to hats off to hometown hits. Councilmember Garcia, do you have a list?
No, I don't, but I have a short one.
Okay.
Let's see, wasn't Karen here from the Wood Lake?
She was out in the hall.
Shelton Hall.
Oh, Karen. Okay, thank you. I wanted to mention that that we have the fowl dinner coming up in April. And here she comes. She'll tell us all about it.
Make sure you spell that, okay?
Fowl?
Yeah.
Karen, would you please come and tell us about the fall dinner?
Fowl
Fowl dinner.
Oh,
They were pulling me away. The fall dinner is on April 29th. It celebrates our 25th year as a Friends of Wood Lake organization. It is going to be held again at the Minnesota Valley Golf Course. And our guest speaker is another Karen. Her name is Karen Oberhauser. She is an expert on monarchs. She's doing a talk called Save the Monarchs. And I think it's going to be really great. We have a lot of support from the Monarch Lab, the Monarch community, and I have an extra special treat for those people who come because it's my 25th year as somebody who's been at the dinner that many years. So it's going to be a very special night. April 29th, you can get your tickets by calling the Nature Center at 612-861-9365, or you can go online and get them at woodlakenaturecenter.org.
Or you can stop by and pay your dues.
You can.
To Wood Lake Nature Center and then buy the ticket.
And we do have maple syrup for sale.
Oh.
200 gallons of sap were collected just yesterday, another 50 gallons today. So we got a good year out of it. I thought it was going to be a very short year. So
oh, wonderful.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
See, I try to get people to help me out. Then the other thing I wanted to mention was the citywide garage sale, and that'll be Thursday through Saturday, May the 19th through the 21st. And we've had rain, I don't know how many garage sales, so people are still hauling their stuff out. They don't put it back. But anyway, so the deadline to register is May the 9th. And once you're registered, you'll be given a sign that says that you're a member of that garage sale supported by the city of Richfield. The other thing I wanted to talk about was Congressman Martin Sabo. He passed away about a week and a half ago, and I can't begin to tell you what a good friend he was to this city. And it was such a pleasure to work with him. Anytime that, you know, that we got together or whatever, he always was in Richfield for events.
Yes, he was.
And he always, you know, would call the city manager, what are we going to work on? You know, how can we make this happen? He believed very much in the partnership of state, local, and federal government. And he did so much for the city. And he worked so well with everyone. He never said anything, you know, bad about the opposing party. He worked well with Mayor Kirsch and really appreciated the fact that he felt at home here. In fact, I'll tell you a secret, but don't tell anybody. Richfield was his favorite suburb. And oftentimes, you know, I worked with him when I was on the city council, and we were working on certain projects, and then I moved up to the state representative. And he was, you know, we were working at that time with New Fort Town, and we were working on the 77th Street detached frontage road. And Steve, I don't know what else we did, but when it came to being supportive of Richfield and doing things for Richfield, and at least showing up and showing us that, you know, that we count, we matter. I think that was very, very impressive. One of the things that I would always do every time I ran for the House is I would call him up, and he'd come, and he'd love to door knock in Richfield, and he always said, you know, it is so easy to door knock Richfield, and that was when I was on the east side. He said, lived on the east side, but he said, it's always nice because when we door knock together in Richfield, you know, I knock on the door and I give him your piece of literature. Oh yeah, we know Edwina, and he said, my job was done. We really, really lost a good friend, a faithful friend, and a giant. I was speaking to Council Member Howard, and he was also telling us about, you know, about how he, you know, maybe he should just go ahead and talk a little bit about, you know, the legacy that continues to affect us every day. Mike, do you have anything?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. I met Congressman Sabo in school and at Augsburg College. Congressman Sabo was a fellow Augie and spoke to our political science class, and you know, just in my day job working at the legislature, you know, hearing about his impact on our state is just incredible, the lasting legacy. And this week at the legislature, several members that served with Martin Sabo when he was the speaker shared stories about just a different time. As speaker, Speaker Sabo opened up committee hearings for the first time when he was there. Before that, all committee hearings happened behind closed doors. He was a great advocate for transparency in government. And the amount of respect he gained from people on both sides of the aisle, I just learned this week that he was the last speaker to have been unanimously elected by the body, by the House, by both the Democrats and the Republicans, which sort of spoke to his character and his ability to work together. And it just seems like anybody that worked with him or knew him just knew what a great guy he was, and you know, his imprint on Minnesota will be felt in Richfield for a long time.
And you know, one of the things he always appreciated from him was that, you know, communication is the best thing, but what he loved most was when we could form partnerships. He was all about that. Let's work with the county, with the state, local, everything, you know. And he was always had more energy when we worked as partners. And you know, I will miss him as a friend. But Steve, do you want to say some words?
Yeah, as long as you're talking about Congressman Sabo, I just want to echo what you're all saying. Congressman Sabo, people in Richfield will probably never realize how much he did for this community.
Oh, lots.
He's I would venture to guess that over the years, he brought probably $65 million of federal money to Richfield. We never would have had the east side done without Martin Sabo, the airport mitigation. We never would have had 77th Street without Martin Sabo. We never would have had the Penn Avenue Bridge without Martin Sabo. We never would have had the Lindell Avenue Bridge without Martin Sabo. And, you know, some of those times, well, he knew what we were looking for, but I remember getting a call from one of Congressman Sabo's aides letting me know that he had just secured another, you know, how many millions of dollars for us to do, you know, to do something that was in our plan, either for 77th Street or the airport, and just kind of knocked my socks off. I don't think I ever missed an opportunity to thank him whenever I saw him for everything he did for this community. And I would never forget Congressman Sabo for everything he's done for Richfield.
Well said.
Yeah, he's a giant. He's done so much. You know, and even after his legacy of being in Congress, he was still around and very active in getting involved in things. I would see him out at all kinds of events, fundraisers and such. He didn't stop just because he wasn't a congressman anymore, although his health kept him from doing some things. He would come from time to time to speak at the Rotary or the Optimist and things. You'd see him about town. He really liked being engaged with the people. It was a wonderful experience.
And you know, when he was first elected to the House, he was 22 years old.
Wow.
And he was an avid baseball fan. In fact, he was the captain, or whatever you call it, of the House of Representatives when they had two teams and they played against each other, and he was kind of the head cheese. And if you wanted to see him, if you wanted to go to a Twins game, you'd see him every time.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. That was nice to hear those wonderful words. We will all miss him very much. Councilmember Elliott.
You know, I want to talk about another historical legacy. It's a little bit different tenor. I was talking to Councilmember Howard about it when I got back. I came late tonight. I was coming from the airport. I had to fly down to Birmingham, Alabama on a trip. And I flew down there with my sister, who is also my law partner and business partner. We had a meeting. And when we got in last night, it was just a one-day trip. We got in last night and didn't want to just go to the hotel. So, you know, you get to a new town you've never been in before, and I had some familiarity with it. You Google local points of interest, and you type in historic downtown Birmingham and put it into the GPS, and we ended up in front of the 16th Street Baptist Church.
Oh.
And for you that don't know, in 1963, members of the Ku Klux Klan went into that church, planted bombs, dynamite in the basement, blew it off during the Sunday services, and 4 little girls in Sunday school were killed. And during the altercation that follows, there's 2 other young boys that were killed. And right across the street from the church, and it was locked when we were there, but you walk up, and the thing I commented to my sister is, when I was in the Army, I was stationed in Europe, and I was lucky enough, I got a European discharge and spent a lot of time in all the historical places you read about in books. I've been to the Parthenon in Athens. I've been to the Greek islands. I've been to the Prado in Madrid. I've stood in the Colosseum where they had the games. And I was too young, I think, at the time to appreciate the historical context. You knew it was historical, but you didn't really sense it. You didn't live the history. But what I can tell you, every time I was there is a sense of, there's an aura that's created, or you feel like you're living history. You're in a place where history was actually made. I felt the same thing on the steps of the church, and across kitty corner from the church there's a park where they have statues and pictures portraying what happened that in 1963 in Birmingham, where a huge protest developed. And Boy Scouts take this to heart, because the majority of the people that were trying to rid the town and the state of the Jim Crow laws were your age. And the police chief at that time had a wonderful name of Bull Connor. And there's statues in there of Bull Connor and his German Shepherd dogs attacking boys your age. And the artist that did it is amazing in portrayal, and there's pictures also. But the one boy is 14, 15 years old, and the dog is leaping at him, and there's fear in the face, but he's not reacting, he's not responding, he's not kicking the dog. He is there taking it and saying, I'm strong enough, I'm going to stand up to this. And that picture was famous internationally, showing how you don't deal with problems, you don't deal with different races, you don't continue to push Jim Crow laws. I guess I don't want to make a big lecture about this, but the thing that I felt there is something that I talk a lot about where I've been, and what I realize now that I miss is there's a lot of historical context and a lot of places you can go in the United States that have every bit the same impact, and that impact is even better or bigger, because I was in school when that explosion happened down there, and when you're there and then you think about it, it didn't have an impact on me. I was 14, 15 years old myself at the time, and it's a picture in the newspaper. You don't realize what the struggle was, what the people that were pushing to change those laws stood up to and stood up for. And by being there and seeing it, there's appreciation that I don't think I ever would have had I not been down there and just run across it. And it's a very powerful sense.
I'm sure.
And as you know, you take a look at the newspapers today, and it's obvious that as far as we've come, there's still a long way to go. But anytime you go to a place like that and you see what they fought against and what they fought through and what they accomplished, certainly gives you, comfort is the wrong word, certainly gives you the sense that we've come over greater odds than we're facing today, and we'll do it again, and that you got to keep pushing, you got to keep working at it, but good things happen.
Thank you. What a great perspective. Councilmember Howard?
I had a couple items. One on a lighter note. I just wanted to congratulate the Holy Angels girls basketball team for a state championship. They beat Winona, and Winona had beaten my hometown, Becker. So
Can we get them in here? Sure.
And I read that it was their first state championship since the 1970s.
Yeah, we should get some
so-
certificates or something. We should get them in here. That'd be great.
And then I just wanted to respond to some of the folks that were here speaking in the public comment period, that residents or former residents of Concierge, in particular to, I don't think anybody here wants anyone to not have a place to live. And it's just important for folks to know that our city staff has worked with many folks at Concierge to help them find new places, and we're continuing to do so. I've spoken with some of the housing advocates that are working directly with some of those folks and asked them to contact us, contact our city staff, let us know, and we want to do everything we can to provide resources, information to help folks. And then to the question about, what do we do if this happens again? I think that's a valid question for the city to wrestle with, and we discussed it some at our goal-setting session, and really the question is, how do we make sure Richfield is a welcoming place for everybody? And I think there are some things we can do differently, and new ideas that we can consider and move forward with, and that's an important discussion for us to have. And so I just wanted to, I know that some of those folks have left, but thought it was important to say and for us to keep working on.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to thank Holy Angels for, bringing the trophy to Richfield.
Yes.
The other thing I wanted to announce, at the last Noise Oversight Committee at the MAC, I was elected as co-chair. So I'll be co-chair for the year. So
Thank you.
we'll see how that works.
I just wanted to say that in the study session, and a couple of you here were in the study session, we went over wayfinding signs for the city of Richfield, and we also went over the banners, the banner designs that were Penn Central in the neighborhood there. And there was a lot of public input, and I just want to thank people for taking the time to go up online and vote or make comments and those kinds of things. It really does help us to get to at least a certain point where we can move forward. And you do a lot of footwork by just putting in your opinions, and that's very much appreciated. And I too want to say, because some of those residents of Concierge have come to me and come to my mayor's office hours, and we are helping them find places, and Jim Soderberg has said he's not going to put people out, and he hasn't so far that we know of in the city. city. And we have been able to place some of those people, and people have been given extensions to be able to find things. And because there's currently a lawsuit, he will not talk about Section 8 at this time, but has said that he will sit at the table with us afterwards and talk about accepting GRH and Section 8. I can't make any promises, but we will have the conversation, and we will see if we can't help bridge some of the barriers to that so that we might be able to do that. And the other thing is to have these conversations as soon as we can if we know of other buyers. What people don't realize is we don't have a way to stop buyers. These are private deals. We have no jurisdiction, and it is not done at the state level. And even at the state level, they don't have any jurisdiction over it. It's a seller to a seller. It's like buying and selling your home. The only thing you have to do is an inspection. That's the same thing that happens with apartment buildings. So it's unfortunate we don't have more to say about that, but that's what we're left with. And so, and some of the things that they are asking us to do around legislation is actually not possible because there's state regulation, and it's already gone through the appellate court, and a lot of this is not even allowed. We have checked these things out. That's how we know that. It's unfortunate where we find ourselves, and their heartfelt stories are very compelling, and I feel for those people. But we are working very hard at the city, and so are our housing advocacy groups, to make sure that they do have a home to go to. So just wanted to say that. At this time, I'd ask for approval of the agenda as it stands.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have the consent calendar. City Manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. For those in the audience here and at home, the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. And once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further council action on these items would then be necessary. Tonight, there are several items on the consent calendar, starting with item A, consideration of the approval of resolution amending the allocation of the 2015 general fund budget. Item B is consideration of the approval of the first reading of the transitory ordinance providing funding for certain capital improvements from the Special Revenue Fund. Item C is consideration of the approval of a resolution providing for the sale of $3,085,000 of general obligation stormwater revenue bonds, Series 2016A. Item D is consideration of the approval of the first reading of an ordinance that amends City Code subsection 930.09 related to noise control hours for construction activities and scheduling a second reading for April 12, 2016. Item E is consideration of the approval of the installation of protective floor coating to the concrete floors at the Public Works Facility by Swedebro for $140,398, and to authorize the city manager to approve additional work up to $10,000 without further council action and authorization. Item F is consideration of the approval of setting a public hearing to be held on April 26, 2016, for the consideration of the issuance of a new on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor license with outside service for VPC Richfield Pizza, LLC, doing business as Gordiano's of Richfield at 3066th Street West. Item G is consideration of the approval of the renewal of the contract with Odessa, Minneapolis for the 2016-2017 auctioning forfeited vehicles from Public Safety Police. And finally, item H, consideration of the approval of a resolution modifying the establishment of a Richfield Transportation Commission. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the calendar.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Garcia, you have item 6.
Thank you, Mayor. This is consideration of a variety of land use applications related to a proposal for an 88-unit assisted living facility and associated site improvement on property located generally between 76th and 77th Street West and Pleasant and Pillsbury Avenues. Masaba Capital Development, which is the applicant, is proposing to develop an 88-unit assisted living facility on property formerly occupied by the Richfield Public Works Garage, Gleason Mortuary, and surrounding parcels. The applicant is requesting a change to the city's comprehensive plan, to zoning designations, And tonight, the council is asked to consider these requests as well as the final development plans. You know, this is really going through a lot of steps in terms of looking at the comprehensive plan, zoning, plan unit development. You know, it's a tough piece of land. It's unique and it's just so challenging to be working on this particular parcel of land.
It's been 8 years.
8 years, yes. And, you know, and we've done our best. We've done our best to try to, you know, incorporate something in there. This is not our first choice, you know, because we could have something that paid taxes, generated taxes, or whatever, but it's a different parcel of property. That it's not that easy. It's where it's located. So, you know, based on that, I think that, you know, we looked at the application, and it went through the Planning Commission and Community Development, and I think that that all of the documents that are attached to this, you know, and you know, you're welcome to read it, including personal testimony from 3 citizens. It's very compelling too. So I don't know if any of the council people have any questions for John or.
No, I just wanted to say that, you know, this is what we knew, and I'm sure that staff had a lot more people come to talk about this property than what we knew, because we only see the ones that make the final cut to come to a study session. So I'm sure there were a lot of people, and I know it would have been nicer to have townhomes there. It would have been nicer to have houses there. Houses weren't going to happen. Townhomes, we were hopeful, but there were many people, and at least I know there were a couple that tried to do it while we were there, and they couldn't make it work financially. And I'm sure there were many more who looked at it than we saw. And this was disappointing, but I also think that we had to keep in mind what was going on in that neighborhood. We couldn't put a multifamily large facility in there. It would have impacted the neighbors way too greatly. It would have been way too many cars. And I certainly didn't want 100% affordable in that either. That was another option. There's already naturally occurring there. And so when we were looking at how to keep the impact down on the neighborhood in a very small area with small streets, this is the best proposal that has come forward, and it's probably the one that's going to work. And so that is why we moved it forward. Several commissions have moved it forward, and why it's here for us tonight.
Well, you know, I met with Joe Hoover a few weeks ago, and, you know, we wind up discussing all of Richfield, but he does make a point when he says, you know, that these residents are probably not going to be out in the community, not going to the hub, Walgreens, or anywhere else, or the Taco Bell, because, you know, they are assisted living or memory care. But nevertheless, they also, you know, have every single right to be part of this community, and we want to do our best to take care of all our citizens, regardless of what station they are in life. So, and now we have the recommended action, and it's a long one, Mary.
Go ahead. John, would you like to say something?
If I could just add a few things. One is, you know, I know I've shared with the mayor and with the city council, we have a development map that we sit down and go through with developers on. And I would guess that in the last, you said 8 years, it's been a lot longer. This site became available to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, the northern half of it was available long before the city garage site went down. But at least in the last 8 years, I imagine I've talked to 35 to 40 developers about real proposals on this site. I know a couple of them have made it as far as you. The other, you know, 38 or whatever that didn't make it to you, we worked and worked and worked and sharpened our pencils and just could not get numbers to work for a lot of reasons. And so I do sincerely believe that this is the right development on this site. I don't think that there are better things that could happen there. I think this is a good use. In terms of the people that were there, it is a tax-paying entity that's going to be there, first of all. The residents that are there, we've had other senior housing come into the community in the past, and we've always asked the senior housing providers after the fact, after people have moved in, where the residents came from. And the last couple was somewhere around 40% of the residents came from Richfield single-family homes, which means that they're freeing up those homes for young families. And so it's largely people that are from the community, and those that are not the 40% from Richfield are from very nearby. What all the providers tell us is people want to remain near their church, near their community, and so it's people from the area that are going to be living here. They're going to be freeing up homes. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, it's really, we're doing three things here. It's the comprehensive plan amendment. That plan amendment is consistent with a study we went through in 2006 or 7. Some of you may remember doing that over, I don't remember if it was at the community center where we did that, but the comprehensive plan amendment is consistent with both our comprehensive plan as it was before and that study that came out. The zoning is consistent as well. Right now it's industrial. It's the only industrial zone, or one of very few in Richfield. And it was just being held that way as a placeholder. With the comprehensive plan, the one thing I want to point out is the medium high density district allows it to go to, I believe it's 24 units per acre. What's being proposed here is 27 units per acre. And that would normally push it into a higher density where you'd say, oh my gosh, we don't know what the future holds because some other developer could come in here and build more units. So we've asked the developer to put a restrictive covenant on the property that will stay with the property until we release it, that says it is limited to these 88 units. And then the last point I want to make is the next item is a public hearing on the replat. And this is always confusing because it always happens this way. And we've tried flipping the order. This is based on how state laws are written. The public hearing for the land use approvals happens at the Planning Commission. And so that public hearing has already occurred. The next item after this is going to be the public hearing for the replat, where that's just talking about conjoining some properties together. That's not about how many units of senior housing this is or isn't. So I'm sure it's likely people are going to want to speak at that public hearing, but it's a very limited in scope. So I just wanted to make a few of those points. Thank you.
No, and I think those points are very valid because it's not like we haven't looked, we haven't searched, we haven't researched, and your department's really gone through a lot in terms of investigating what can work and will work. And I think once it's built, I think it's going to serve Richfield quite well.
Councilmember, may I make just a couple of comments too?
Sure.
Because there's comments, and I read a lot of the Facebook, and they say that there's memory units everywhere. Well, there are memory units in a lot of our places, but there's small amounts of memory units. They are not totally full of memory units because no one place can take on that much. So there, and how many are there here in this one? It's in 20?
28.
28. So, and that's true with all of our places. They have a small portion of them because of the staff. So you have these staff that are coming in more high-end paying jobs. These are nurses, these are doctors, these are administrative assistants. And those who aren't in memory care many times are out in the community because they're usually taken to the grocery store and they're usually taken to the beauty salon. And I know that because I see them in the beauty salon where I go. A lot of the Village Shore ladies go over there to Gloria like we do.
Yes.
So, they do get out in the community when they can. So I think, too, it's really great to have a place for some of our Richfield residents to go to.
Just a couple
Council
comments,
member.
Mayor. I just wanted to add a couple comments. This has been challenging for me as well, knowing that ideally we might be looking at a different proposal. But I do think we have to, a lot of the comments are really well taken about being realistic about the time that this space has went, and is it really an advisable position to just wait and wait and wait and wait, 5-10 years longer? How long, and so And the other thing I think it's important in considering this is not just this specific development, but the development that's going throughout the entire city.
East side.
There's some very positive developments going on the east side that are going to offer new opportunities and new times of housing to bring in new families and new opportunities for folks. And really, you know, we need to be striving for a mix of housing in Richfield for a community that really has a mix of people. And so this is, I think, ends up being one part of that, and we just need to keep working at and taking the broad picture. So I will be supporting it.
Councilmember?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For me, this is a better fit than what we've ever had. As you know, I was a cop for many years, and just looking at that area with all the apartments we got there, it just kind of got me a little bit saying, oh, we're going to put more apartments there and that. And you talk about density. Density can cause crime. Just to get that many people crowded together. Would we like to have something else? Yeah, but you look at what is going in and what's going into the community and what it's going to do to the neighborhood has less impact on the neighborhood. Again, I like the fact that we're probably going to see a lot of Richfield residents move in there. And I think it's a good fit. It's just a tough spot. I know you wanted Costco there, but it wasn't going to happen. But we've tried everything, and it comes down to this is the fit, and this is the time. So.
Any comments?
Nothing other than the gnashing of teeth. I understand everybody aspires to a better vision on that particular piece of property. But I also recognize what John has told us, and we've had people come in with real money. One funding was reliant on tax breaks based on 100% affordable, which certainly wasn't going to fly. Another one came in with an interesting and attractive townhouse project, and the numbers didn't work. Yeah. And I've no doubt that when John says he sat down with a number of people and sat down and tried to make it work on that piece of property and what it was going to cost, economically, we did the best we could. And when we say did the best we could, the economics are the other side of the table. But they've got to come in and they've got to put something up that's going to generate a return on investment for them, put this back on the tax rolls, be an attractive addition to the neighborhood. And, you know, I'm not going to, I have a hard time criticizing the fact that we're going to have 28 units with diminished mental or memory. I mean, that is a growing need. We passed a resolution so we can put additions on our house so we can have family members that come in. If we're going to go to that extent, so we're going to allow that, we certainly can have something in our community that's a new building. And there, you know, from my perspective, memory challenged, I've been lucky enough that we haven't really had any incidences in my family, but I've seen it, and I've seen the care that their grown children, 50, 60, 70 years old, tending to those parents. And I'm not willing to look at that purely in terms of economic impact on the community. The economic impact's going to be there. They're going to have to eat, and it's like the mayor said, they're going to be taken out. You get them out, you do trips. I think it's negligible between what they would be contributing to the economics in the neighborhood and anybody else. So to me, 8-10 years is certainly long enough to sit out there and vet a number of applications, and I'm never going to use the term this is the best we could do. It's what's going to be there, and it's going to be the best thing for that location.
Mary.
Please.
Oh, just a quick note, Mayor and Council. We do need separate motions on these items.
Oh, okay.
All right, there you go. You get to go.
Okay.
One at a time.
Got my 2 waters here because of my throat.
Keep it to drinker.
And before I forget, I should sign up and consider going there too. Okay, so I am putting in motion recommended action on the 3 items. One is to approve the resolution amending the comprehensive plan designation of 211 76th Street West 7600, 7608, and 7644 Pillsbury Avenue South, and an adjacent 30-foot strip of land from medium-high-density residential and right-of-way to high-density residential. And, do I have a second?
Have a second? Second. All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. The
Okay.
second.
And next, we want to approve, hopefully, an ordinance amending the zoning designation of 211 76th Street West, 7600, 7608, and 7644 Pillsbury Avenue South, and an adjacent 30-foot strip of land from industrial and undesignated to plan multifamily residential.
Second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, to approve this resolution authorizing a plan unit development, or a PUD, conditional use permit and final development plan to construct an 88-unit assisted living facility on property located at 211 76th Street West, 7600, 7608, and 7644 Pillsbury Avenue South, and an adjacent 30-foot strip of land.
Second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council member.
Thank you.
And item 7, Mr. Howard.
And I have item 7, and this is the public hearing regarding a resolution for a preliminary plat of the Richfield Assisted Living Edition that will combine 4 parcels, 211 76th Street West, 7600, 7608, and 7644 Pillsbury Avenue South, and an adjacent 30-foot strip of land in order to allow construction of an assisted living facility. In conjunction with an application for a planned unit development on the north half of the former Public Works Garage site and adjacent parcels, Mesabi Capital Development is requesting approval of the attached preliminary plat. If the council votes to deny the request, development proposal, the plat request should also be denied. The proposed plat for the Richfield Assisted Living Edition has been reviewed by the City Attorney's Office. Prior to consideration of a final plat application, Mesabi Capital Development will be required to satisfactorily address all comments. No major issues are anticipated. So, you go
This is
ahead.
the public hearing. Would anyone like to come forward to speak? We have 3 minutes. Anyone come to speak? This is a public hearing. It's open. Would you please to come, please? State your name and your address and speak.
501 Woodlake Drive, Village Shores. And as a community development director said, this is a limited scope in terms of what you're considering tonight. So I just want to offer support, for the action you're going to hopefully take tonight, and for the future development. And I'd like to, come again when there are more bones, more details on the bones, so that we have something more specific to respond. My only comment, without getting too wound up, is one of our community members referred to people living in the place I'm living in the other senior facilities, as ghettos. And that bothers me, and I hope it bothers you. And the people who are going to live in Mesaba are not, do not live in a ghetto. We live in the community, and that's all I'll say at this particular point. There were other things that person said, I'll take those up. I'll take those up another time, because the seniors, we are paying our way. We're not begging for anything. So I'll make more comments about that in a future hearing. But on balance, I support this. We need senior housing of all kinds. We need family housing of all kinds, too. I want you to know that. Even though I'm a senior, I'm biased. I know we need families with kids, too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Camilo.
Well, just to give Camilo a little credit, he's the chair of the Family Stability Committee, which is part of the Richfield Community Council.
Mm-hmm.
So he's put in, I don't know how many years working on the housing arena. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. This is a public hearing. Would anyone else like to come forward? Anyone else?
Move to close public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
The public hearing is closed. Council member?
Then my motion is to approve the resolution for a preliminary plat of the Richfield Assisted Living Addition that will combine 4 parcels, 211 76th Street West, 7600, 7608, and 7644 Pillsbury Avenue South, and an adjacent 30-foot strip of land in order to allow construction of an assisted living facility.
Second. Any further
I
discussion?
got a question.
Please, I'm sorry. Councilmember.
Just for John, what, do we have to revisit this if Ruby decides to sell her house, or, because you're subletting all these, and I'm just curious what would happen if that happens.
A couple of things. One is, I believe, I'm not sure if it's the next council meeting or the council meeting after, is an item to rezone the residence you're talking about.
Yeah.
Currently, that residence too, I believe, is zoned industrial. Or if it's not industrial, it's some use that's not appropriate for the site. So we're recommending to rezone it to single-family residential to protect that homeowner.
Okay.
So that they can refinance their house, that it will be in compliance. If down the road they wanted to sell it, or something different happened with the property, it would come back through the process again. What I've mentioned to the developer is our hope would be that if that were to happen, perhaps the city could buy that residence and swap for, give the developer that property and swap for some corner property so we could do a little pocket park or something on the site. But it will not be developed on. Just the way that their building is, the way that the restrictive covenants are written on there. It's going to be open space. We would just like to make sure that it's usable open space.
Okay, thank you for the information.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tom Fitzhenry, you have the next. Council member?
I get the good one.
Yes, you do.
Okay, the item under consideration is approving the contract with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1215, for the contract period of January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2017, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. And go through the whole thing here, or read the whole thing, but I'll first want to thank the city staff again for settling very fast. Like I said, when I was working here, sometimes there was a year before things got settled. City staff has completed labor negotiations with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1215, which is the union. The provisions of the 2016-2017 labor agreement cover all the employees in this union, which consists of 25 positions. The 2-year contract provides for a wage adjustment of 2.5% in 2016 and a wage adjustment of 2.75% in 2017. The other provisions of the tentative agreement include up to $115 per month in the city's contribution toward health insurance and a 50-cent per month increase toward employees' single dental coverage. There is a reopener provision for insurance in 2017, a new benefit which provides acting pay of 115% of the top firefighter wage step for lieutenants acting in the capacity of a captain. The acting pay does not become effective until after the first 24 hours acting as captain. Pam, did you want to add anything that I've talked about, or?
Councilmember Fitzhenry, rest of the council. No, we're very pleased to have a 2-year agreement with the firefighters. We haven't had a 2-year agreement with them for some time, so it's nice, and they're the last union for us to settle for 2016.
Again, that's amazing. Okay, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we adopt the resolution approving the provisions of the 2016-2017 labor agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1215 bargaining unit, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Elliott.
Thank you, ma'am. The following items for consideration are related to the Richfield, or the West Richfield Stormwater Project. Number one, accepting the bid minutes, stabulation, and award contract to Minger Construction Company in the amount of $1,930,000.20. Really? 20 cents?
20 cents?
Couldn't you round it up or down? Okay.
They're precise.
For the West Richfield Stormwater Project. Number two, authorizing the city manager to approve contract changes under 100,000, no, it's 20 cents in there, so.
Should put 20 cents there, yeah.
Under $100,000 without further city council authorization, and approving hiring WSB and Associates to perform construction engineering services for a fee not to exceed $159,207 for the West Richfield Stormwater Project. The West Richfield Stormwater Project includes the replacement of the storm sewer, sanitary sewer, and water main along James Avenue from 69th to 68th Streets, and installation of a 3-foot by 6-foot box culvert from 69th Street to 66th Street along James Avenue and through Monroe Park. To the south, the box culvert will connect to the 4-foot by 8-foot box culvert installed last year with the 69th Street reconstruction project. To the north, the box culvert will connect to a future stormwater line installed as part of the 66th Street reconstruction project. The project also includes a dry pond. It's a temporary storage area that will be graded in the north half of Monroe Park, which will provide additional stormwater storage capacity for the drainage area. Achieving upstream flooding relief with the future 66th Street reconstruction project by collecting stormwater and routing it through the box culverts to Wood Lake. Bids for the construction of the West Richfield Stormwater Project were opened on March 8, 2016. Minger Construction Company was the lowest responsible bidder. WSB and Associates, the consultant used for design, has submitted a proposal to provide the construction engineering services for the project. So at this time, I would move to accept the bid minutes, tabulation, and award contract to Minger Construction Company in the amount of $1,930,000.20 for the West Richfield Stormwater Project. Authorize the city manager to approve contract changes under $100,000 without further city council authorization. And 3, approve hiring WSB and Associates to perform construction engineering services for a fee not to exceed $159,207 for the West Richfield Stormwater Project.
We'll second it. And I have a comment.
Please.
Well, we just, last night, we were at the Richfield Bloomington Water Management Organization, and we learned a lot about what we should do with water, and, putting it on grass before it gets into the sewer system. We learned a lot about that, and I like the fact that we're doing that now. Maybe Monroe Park will be flooded a couple times, but it's going to do a lot for our water quality. And it was just kind of nice to see this pop up just after we got the big education last night from the University of Minnesota about what we should be doing right. And when I see this, we are doing it right. So I just wanted to make that comment. So.
Oh, that's wonderful.
If I may, there was an open house a month ago over at the Wood Lake Nature Center, and I was there for the first hour or two, and there was not a large amount of interest, but the people that were interested had immediate impact as neighbors around there and everything. And once they saw the schematic, and there was some concerns about there was some leveling out of one of the lots on 66th Street, and a concern that it was going to be a parking lot or something to access the parks. And once they were relieved of those concerns, and you take a look at it, and I know that Jeff Pearson did a good job of explaining the engineering details, how it was going to work, some of the landscaping and everything that was going to be beneficial to the homeowners around there by the way they're going to set it up. And it's like I made the comment a couple meetings ago, is it has the capacity. I mean, it tied in with this, but going by 66 and looking down into that huge green park and green area is going to be a benefit to the city. It gives you a visual stimulation. You took that house, but so by improving that, having that little level out and holding area down there and everything, is going to give you a nice visual as you're going, probably going east. Better vision going east on 66th Street, but it's going to be a nice addition.
Yeah, it will be. They're going to do a lot of improvements in the park there. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. We have the city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I do have just a few things I want to report on tonight. Excuse me. First of all, if you go to our website, there's a poll on our website where people can give input on what would they see as a preferred future alignment of Richfield Parkway. You know, we're dealing with that right now. It's very important. That poll is going to be there till the end of March. And so anyone who wants to, have their input known should go to our website, and that is www.cityofrichfield.org and then /Cedar. So again, I would encourage anybody who is interested to take the poll and give us your input.
Okay.
A couple of other things. I know that I've talked to some people over this weekend concerned, Center Point's been out and done some work in the front yards, and the front yards don't look very good. And they're concerned that that's how it's going to be. And I just want to make sure that people understand that they do kind of, in the fall, they do kind of a rough restoration, and it's very rough of yards. But there's a different whole crew that'll come in and restore them much better in the spring. And, we'll try to make sure that they do a good job of it. And,
And if they
sometimes
don't,
they do
call.
and sometimes they don't. And
Call.
yeah, and if they don't, call us.
Call.
Yeah, for sure. Call us if they don't. There's been questions about when are we going to start on Portland Avenue again? Because the first phase of it was done last year, and the second phase starts this spring. There's going to be a construction meeting, I believe, coming up later this week where they're going to talk about that and start looking at the details of when it might happen. I think there's a neighborhood meeting or a public hearing or something that's got to happen. Open house, not public hearing. An open house, neighborhood meeting before they go ahead and start the work. But it's, if the weather holds out like it is now, it's probably likely that it's going to happen sometime mid to maybe the third week of April. But we'll keep you informed of that. And the last thing, when we talk about stormwater, I think one of the, I wish we could have mentioned it last night at the Water Management Organization meeting, because I think it's the coolest thing ever, and that's what we've done over at Taft Lake.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is that's where you have, Taft Lake is a lake that, although it's not very big, it's like 50 or 60 feet deep in the middle. It's stocked with fish. We just got, for people who don't know this or haven't gone out there, we put a new fishing pier in. It's really cool. It's if you park in the parking lot where Bloomington Avenue comes over the crosstown, the parking lot there, as soon as you pull up, you'll see the pier. It's really well done. And this spring, we're going to start the flocculation process that's going to take the water out of that lake. All the equipment is inside the building that's there, and all the piping's in place, and it's going to clean that water and put it back into that lake. And even though that lake is really, it's fed through stormwater, across the city and all the connections that we have from Richfield Lake to Wood Lake to ultimately to Taft, I believe that's going to be a very clear lake. And I really see in the future, and we're doing some bituminous paths. They're kind of roughed in already. They're accessible and everything else. But I see in the future that's going to be a kind of a cool place for people to just bike to or whatever, or just walk to, and fish, or just admire a clear lake, a clean lake that was a stormwater pond, actually, in a sense.
Will we ever get canoeing in there?
I don't know about canoeing.
Canoes?
But we know when that project is up and going, I think that's something that I'm really intent on making sure that the media knows what that is, because that is one very cool project.
Yeah, it is.
We do have ice fishing there, though.
And there's ice fishing. There were 200 people at the last ice fishing event we had out there, ice fishing. So
Wow.
cool.
Wow.
That's it.
That's it. Claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
You know, I was just going to say that, before Councilmember Elliott turned it over, he was using his pen and making notes and scratching stuff out. So why don't you double check it and make sure it's okay? before we vote.
Thought it was time to do a certified audit of it. So all right, I'll stamp it as soon as I get a stamp.
Yeah, good, okay.
All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We are going into a closed session at this, and we will not be returning, so we will adjourn in there, and we'll get some special instruction from our city attorney. But for those who are in the audience, just to let you know that we're going to close session. And Mary, I will let you do the usual, what you have to say about our closed session coming up.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The council will be recessing into an executive session for an attorney-client privilege discussion pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 relating to pending litigation between Raymond Spiegel and the City of Richfield. And once we complete that, we will come back into the open session to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. All right. Thank you for everyone. It was nice to see everyone here. Thank you very much. Council, you can have a couple of minutes break to go to the back room.